The Japanese government will pay for a significant part of a second Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company factory in southern Kumamoto. According to the leaders of the ruling party's lawmakers coalition on chips, giving no support will be out of the question after the government pledged to shoulder half the cost of the first Kumamoto plant, said Akira Amari and Yoshihiro Seki, Chairman and Secretary General of the Liberal Democratic Party's group on semiconductors. Amari said around 1/3 of the cost is the norm for these types of projects, and in some areas the amount of support for the first was unusually large. The subsidies will be part of Japan's efforts to revive its domestic chip-making industry, a sector that's viewed as crucial for growth and economic security, Amari said. This is a national strategy, Amari said in an interview in Tokyo. On Wednesday, we are facing the kind of choice that will set our course over the next decades. Are we going to be a receiver of chips or a provider? Which is better? We have no choice but to take on this challenge, regardless of the outcome. Whether or not the government will also pay for half of the second TSMC plant will depend on what type of chips will be made there and how much created of a wider economic impact it can generate in the region, Seki said. For example, the government would be more supportive if TSMC plans to train many Japanese actors through its own, more technically advanced workers, he added. The plant will certainly boost the economy, and we will back it, Seki said in a separate interview on Wednesday in Tokyo. Around the globe, governments are pouring in by support. If Japan alone doesn't do anything, we won't be able to attract top chip companies from the rest of the world. And then the lawmakers also said they would like to see at least 1 trillion yen, $7 billion of chip-related support in an extra budget this year, which would likely be compiled toward the end of the calendar year. Investments in the trillions of yen are the global standard when it comes to chips, Amari said. We will secure a substantial budget amount. And while the second TSMC plant hasn't officially been announced by the company, aid for it could be part of that budget, Seki said. Money could also go to legacy and power semiconductor production in need of support. TSMC chairman Mark Liu said in June that the company is in discussions with Japan over subsidies for a second facility, which might be located alongside its current plants in Kumamoto. If the additional support and the extra budget materializes, Japan will be largely on track with its plan to invest about 10 trillion yen in semiconductors over the span of the decade. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida had made that intention clear last year. So far, about 1.76 trillion yen has been set aside for the nation's chip and digital strategy that was created in 2021 and revised this year, according to the Economy Ministry. Of that total, 1.2 trillion yen is for semiconductors, 500 billion yen for storage batteries, and 60 billion yen for software-related initiatives. Japan is aiming to triple the sales of domestically produced semiconductors to more than 15 trillion yen by 2030. And subsidy wars heat up with the U.S. allies forced to pay up or lose out. Sumco jumps on report of Japan. Subsidy for new plant. Japan, EU agreed to deepen cooperation on chip research, training. U.S.-Japan commerce chiefs agree to develop next-generation chips, and what's ready to spend under government 10% of items in protesters or extractive annual budgets, and that's facility for Seki that to be quite large and risky. So far, the government has boosted subsidies to aid the sector, but its approach may need to evolve down the road. He said, other potential measures include tax deductions to help companies with high operation costs, especially in water and power bills. And the key aid pledged so far include 476 billion yen for the first TSMC plant, set to begin production in late 2024, and 330 billion yen for Japan's homegrown chipping, Enter Rapidus Corp. In northern Hokkaido. The TSMC case has justification in that it brings the world's leading chipmaker to Japan, but the risk is higher for the Rapidus case head. And the latter is a brand new startup that aims to mass produce the most advanced form of chips, uncharted territory for Japan, and the government is planning on providing further support. And I recognize this is a tough project. Seki said of the Rapidus case, we won't be able to succeed unless we think that there's no choice but to succeed.